This video is sponsored by Prey. More on that later. Life as a kitty cat right now sounds like hell. Every day just seems to play out like this.
I am processing the most triggering breakup I've had in 9 years.
Over and over again. We talked about it in the last video how despite both Witness and Smile being decent albums, with, mind you, several entries in the Aonso Top 100, on a mainstream level, Katy Perry has not been as globally relevant as she once was. Until a global and personal favorite moment. So honestly, I thought this next album cycle was shaping up to be pretty promising. What goes down must come up, right? Whee! So let's take a journey through the epic highs and lows of pop culture relevancy. Before we get into that though, let's talk about Parade real quick. I feel like whenever I want basics, my options are always just like 500 shades of beige and gray. And if I want to get something a bit more exciting, it's always just way more than I want to pay for basics. Parade on the other hand though, I feel like there's no limit with their stuff. Like it's a great price point. Honestly for me, it's the cheapest I've been able to find in comparison to other places I shop. And if you want something colorful, they quite literally have the entire rainbow for you to choose from. Like there are a ton of options. They've also got sizing up to 3XL for their basics. And their stuff is just super comfortable, especially their thongs. The invisible high-rise style specifically feels like butter. It is so smooth and it's got a nice amount of stretch to it, so it really hugs your body, but it doesn't feel like you're wearing anything because it has no edges. I will say my favorite colorway they have is this purple one. I got it in the ultra flattering high-rise thong. This one's made out of what they call new cotton, which is their cotton alternative. It's more sustainable, it takes less water to produce than traditional cotton, but it's still breathable, antimicrobial, and super soft, which of course are all great perks, but day to day I mainly notice that they're just really comfortable to wear and I feel great in them. I really could not recommend them more. I just love everything about them. But styles do sell out fast, so if you're interested, definitely check it out. If you use my code KC50, you can actually get 50% off site-wide for a limited time, and there's no minimum purchase on that, so you can really get a deal. Also keep in mind, the code doesn't apply to the 80% off sale, but the rest of that stuff, have at it. Thanks again to Parade for sponsoring. Again, check them out if you're interested, but otherwise, let's get back into the video.
I wanna see you peacock, cock, cock, you peacock, cock.
Alright, we need to go back to where we last left off with Miss Katy, which was her post-Smile release, performing at her Vegas residency Katy Perry play, judging on American Idol, and going viral for her Just Eat promotional video. Whether you like it or not, this song made waves, okay? It was like Baby Shark for unemployed 24-year-old women. Me. It wasn't just this that was making the next era seem so promising though. It was also that during her residency, Katy Perry was hyping up her next album at the expense of her last two eras.
If you can't lock me up my Witness or Smile era, then you can't lock me up my KP6 era.
I don't know, clown entered early retirement, I guess. And again, I didn't think those last two albums were bad, but if Katy was claiming this was going to be a lot bigger and different, then of course I'm gonna get hyped. And to make matters more exciting, she had some listening parties with Katy Cats and the reviews were rave.
We listened to 8 songs, and let me tell you, 8 out of 8, a bop.
They were saying this album was going to have iconic collaborations, mega hits, and overall was a return to form for Katy that we haven't seen in years. The general public finally got a bit of a taste for the new era though in late May, when her label teased this new logo. And eventually we found out that the new album name was going to be 143, a play on I love you. Like a pager, right? I don't even know what a I've never seen a pager before. About that whole return to form thing though, I didn't realize, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't either, that she meant this quite literally. And people started to connect the dots on the extent of this when they saw that Dr. Luke had attended one of her Vegas shows. At this point though, it was just speculation, but eventually, gearing up for the first single, it was confirmed that Katy was in fact working with Dr. Luke again for the first time since Prism in 2013, as well as Max Martin. Both of course are very well-known successful pop producers, but the decision to start working with Dr. Luke again shocked a lot of people, especially considering that she stopped working with him in 2013 because of the allegations that he had sexually assaulted Kesha. A very public legal battle was drawn out for years between the two before they recently settled, but Kesha still quite obviously maintains that she was telling the truth, while Dr. Luke maintains his innocence. Some Katy Cats tried to run defense when this news hit by claiming that Katy was actually contractually obligated to work with him, saying that the details of her contract that she had signed back in 2007 with him meant that she had to complete a total of 6 albums with him and it only followed through on the 3. But this got debunked pretty quickly. Naturally, the news that Katy was working with him did not go over well at all. And I mentioned this the last time that we talked about Katy, that I feel like a lot of the problems that plague her releases could easily be solved by just having someone on her team who's been on the internet for 5 minutes. But now I'm starting to think that she does actually have somebody like that on her team that she just ignores, because there are widely known instances of people like Doja Cat and Kim Petras who've had to deal with the backlash of working with Dr. Luke, whether that was of their own free will or due to a contract. And Kim Petras is even working with Katy Perry on this new album. I just find it really hard to believe that she didn't have at least one conversation with somebody where they would mention, hey, I don't know if people are gonna like this. I think Katy just assumed that if I'm working with Dr. Luke again, my songs are gonna be so big no one's gonna care. Like, girl, maybe we get the clown wig back out of storage. And to make matters even more confusing, you would think that if Katy's claiming that she's going back to her roots and is working with Dr. Luke again, that she'd probably drop that whole purposeful pop thing she tried to coin during Witness. Because it didn't work the first time, and I mean, it would be a little bit hypocritical for her to do that when she's kind of working with a guy that—
It's a woman's world and you're lucky to be living in it.
Okay, I guess by purposeful pop, she just meant anything that serves her own purpose. I'd argue a lot of elements of this release, though, are very Witness-coded, even down to the influencer cameos. Like how in Swish Swish, she had all those Viners playing basketball. This time, she has Trisha Paytas doing the most awkward blind reaction to her song that I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, so Katy Perry sent me her new song. T. Ooh.
Look at the shiny mirror, though, guys. It's Hello Kitty. And a big truck go beep beep. Go look, come on. Isn't that so slay? But what does the song sound like? Yes, the snippet might have been dunked on immediately on TikTok, and I don't disagree that it sounds a bit like that audio people use for their dogs. She's so brave and well behaved. But that's only a few seconds out of context, okay? There's a whole other 2 minutes that could be very good. Well, and I hate for Meghan Trainor to catch a stray here. That girl has really done nothing wrong. But this is basically her mother song minus the doo-wop business. But instead, we're centaurs on a dance pop beat. So that makes it T, apparently. I am gonna have to bleep that out. The last time I called something in a video, I got in trouble for promoting hate speech. The meaning behind the video, though, is interesting. The way I interpret it, at least, is that Katy's performing commodity feminism. She shows a bunch of products for women, like alcohol, sex toys, which, girl, where was the Bellesa sponsorship? She kind of missed out. Like, she could have had like a Beats Palace ad placement and everything. But then after being hit with an anvil, she goes into the future and now the world is chaos. The women are on the loose and they're not holding themselves back. And Katy has horse legs. Every masterpiece has its cheap copy. Bad songs can still do well though, and very often they do. So it being a bad song wasn't the end of the world. But the reception this song got was terrible. From a media standpoint, Pitchfork called it irritating at best and clearly modeled off of Stupid Love by Lady Gaga. Dazed claimed it was a failure to pander to gay stereotypes and the product of a boardroom whose, quote, sole objective was to sink on RuPaul's Drag Race, and generating comments of, "you ate," from white gays living in West Hollywood. Though I'd add on that I think that Katy's definitely cherry-picking elements from artists with large queer fan bases in an effort to seem current and then take that to appeal to the mainstream. Like, Katy Perry does not want to be a niche pop star with a small but cult-like gay following. She wants to be Katy Perry circa 2012, and it seems she's decided that the only way to do that is to get another wig moment, which was made even more obvious when she did a second video with Harry Daniels.
Tell me I'm your national.
And while most of them do seem staged, and I do think that this one is, not all of them are though.
Excuse me. You look so perfect.
Yeah, definitely not all of them. The one he did recently with Katy though is somehow equally just as hard of a watch.
Sexy, confident. She is heaven sent. So intelligent. Period.
Wig, okay.
What?
Did you say period?
Did you just say wig? Yes. I know.
Yes, I want to be the next American Idol. Thoughts, prayers.
What's even weirder about how awkward this video is that he has sung to her before, and in the first one, there was actually a really cute moment.
My best friend that just played Coachella, that song's about her, and she's in the trailer!
Oh.
So I don't understand the persona she's putting on in the second video. Like, I get that she's clearly trying to do some sort of bit, but I don't get it. Like, she just seems bored of her song. To bring up that Pitchfork article again, it's mystifying why Perry would have chosen to mount her comeback with a vaguely political song. You just get the sense that she doesn't really like or care about this stuff. And that's exactly it. I thought that her shading Witness meant that she had picked up on the reception of her trying to go political the first time. Like, I don't get why she's trying to force something to appease some imaginary market she's made up in her head that she has to appeal to become outrageously famous again. And I'm not saying that Katy Perry shouldn't get political if she truly wants to. It's just that nothing about this song makes it seem like she actually does. Numbers-wise, it did not get any better for her. And it's one thing for critics and charts to not like a song. But do you know how bad it has to be for people to start grilling you on Facebook? Like, they have no idea what the hell is going on half the time. But they managed to rally on time for this? As songs go, it is a bit pants. I'm not listening. It was terrible. It was really terrible. That Lady Gaga song has been and gone duck. Yeah, whatever that means. The backlash got so bad that Katy ended up posting behind the scenes of her explaining that it was all satire.
Girl boss shit! Having fun, being a bit sarcastic with it. It's very slapstick.
Which, like, I don't know. I feel like most people got that when she whipped out the HomeSense sign. But when it comes to discussing whether satire is successful or not, I always think of that photo of that guy who kind of looks like Joe Santagato. Like, what is the real message or direction of this video? That you're Katy Perry? It's also just crazy to me that you're gonna put out a song called Woman's World while crawling back to Dr. Luke. Post-release, we did get a Woman's World EP that had a few different variations of the song. Whenever I see variations of this, like Katy's obviously top of mind because we're looking at it right now, but there are a ton of different artists that do them. I always read them in the same candor as that TikTok trend where people do a circle time stomp clap explaining their outfits. My personal favorite being the Christian take on it.
Jean dress in a gentle spirit. Jean dress in a gentle spirit. Striped shirt and a daughter of the king. Striped shirt and a daughter of the king.
BRB woman version. BRB woman version. I will say the Nightcore take on this song though made me realize this would have worked really well in the background of an end credits roll for an Alvin and the Chipmunks sequel. They would have ate this up. An interesting complaint I saw from a lot of people though is that they were claiming that the reason that this current era of Katy Perry is being inflicted on us right now is because not enough people paid attention to the hits that came leading up to this. So think Carly's in Hawaii or Never Really Over. Both of which have over 500 million streams, by the way. Like, it's almost as if it's not just Katy Perry but also the public that thinks that Katy Perry isn't as big as she should be. And I think it's because people are comparing her to an era of pop music that just doesn't exist anymore. Like, I don't know, it just kind of makes me feel like people have a normal response to Katy Perry. If she puts out a really good song, it does well. If she doesn't, it doesn't. With the response to Woman's World being nothing like what I think Katy or her team were expecting, her team immediately launched into promoting the next single, Lifetimes. She made a surprise appearance at a party in Barcelona to hand out some shots and play a bit of the song to drum up hype. But sadly, while this does sound better than Woman's World, a second Gaga plagiarism accusation has hit the Katy Cat Towers. Which is just insane to think that these are the songs that Katy Perry was like, you know what? Reputation be damned, I must work with you again, Dr. Luke. She did share some more snippets of different songs off the album on Instagram Live, one of those being Gimme Gimme featuring 21 Savage. By far the worst snippet that's come out though is I'm His, He's Mine. I just don't think a song could communicate more obviously that it is meant to go viral on TikTok, to the point where it doesn't even feel like a human was involved in making it. It feels like an algorithm did it. Or Princess Jane. The position it feels like Katy's in right now though reminds me a lot of a review I read for Dua Lipa's Radical Optimism that was written by Claire Biddles, where she talked about how in music right now, especially in pop, it feels like there's just two extremes to choose from. Either the heavily diaristic songwriting style where it feels like you have to do homework to understand all the lore and all the clues and references are tied to the singer's personal life, or music that just feels completely vacant of any kind of meaning or storytelling. And there's definitely a happy medium between the two. There's tons of music that would fall into that category, and I personally argue that a lot of Katy Perry's old catalog would fit into that. But if anything, it feels like 143 is starring a Katy Perry that's emptier than ever. And listen, I know I've kind of been hard on Katy here. I like Katy Perry, I want her to do well. But I think, at least to me, this era has solidified that Katy Perry does not care about making good music as much as she cares about getting back to her peak. Which sucks, because you would think with the amount of money and fame that she has that she would take that space and freedom to do whatever she wants. Honestly, I thought the last two albums were her doing that. But instead, she just seems desperate to climb back to the level of fame she had during Teenage Dream. And I do have sympathy for her to a certain extent. I think the reason she felt that she had to work with Dr. Luke to truly come back was because if you look at her discography, a lot of her biggest hits are tied to him. But that's not really an excuse. If anything, it just makes the era feel even more sad. Like, you put out this song about it being a woman's world and how important it is for women to take back themselves and do whatever the hell they want, but then you peel back the curtain and see it's just a woman who could work with anybody she wanted, she has tons of money and success to do it, and instead she decides to go back to a guy with terrible allegations against him because he produced her mega hits. Like, if that's a woman's world, I don't want to live in it. The album isn't out yet though, and I am really holding out hope that the stuff that she worked on with Max Martin ends up being good. I really love the stuff he worked on with Ariana Grande earlier this year. It's just frustrating because Katy has such a great voice, she's an amazing performer, and she's got this zaniness to her that you just don't really see anymore. And I just wish she'd stop trying to fit herself into what she thinks is the silhouette of a 2024 mega pop star, and instead just make the shit she likes. And if that happens to be something that sounds like Circle the Drain, I'll be really excited. Alright, moving on. We have to talk about something that I truly never thought I would witness in my lifetime. Toronto has been reeling from the recent events. The city is quite literally weeping. People have resorted to swimming to their cars. They want to rename streets Taylor Swift Way. Like, it's bad. Of course, all of this is thanks to the beef between Drake and Kendrick. And the sheer impact of this shit. They've been calling it Bye Sister for men aged 24 to 35. But I would personally argue that instead of James Charles, Drake is more of a distinct Shane Siwa. And if you don't already, get yourself a snack if you're enjoying dinner, get yourself a little blanket, because it's story time. While they might seem to hate each other now, Drake and Kendrick actually used to be friends. They collaborated in 2011 on Drake's album Take Care, then on Kendrick's album Good Kid Mad City a year later. And that same year, Drake had him as an opener on his tour alongside A$AP Rocky. Then all three of them did a song together called Fucking Problems. So everything's peachy keen at this point, like we're all friends. Then the Control verse drops, which was a Kendrick feature on Big Sean's song Control, which then proceeded to go viral for good reason. He basically gets on the mic, calls out a ton of different rappers, and is like, listen, I'm trying to be so much better than all of you that I fucking kill you. And the verse, of course, did have shade at Drake. Later on Drake's album, Nothing Was the Same, he had a song on it called The Language that some people thought was him kind of responding to Kendrick, but according to Drake's team, it wasn't. Yet when asked about the verse, this is what he had to say about it.
He's giving people like moments, you know, like that verse was a moment to talk about. Are you listening to it now? But it was real cool for like, you know, a couple weeks.
Kendrick, on the other hand, was like, listen, let's go at him again. And he does just that during his verse in the 2013 BET Cypher.
Nothing been the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sensitive rapper back in his pajama clothes. Ha ha, joke's on you.
One could make the argument that this was like the starting domino that eventually led to that photo of Drake like sniffing a pie. Schoolboy Q was also there, and they had this cute little high five moment.
High five, I'm bulletproof.
Love it. Sorry. It was very hardcore and tough. Then on to Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick shades Drake again, specifically about allegations that Drake has ghostwriters. Whenever I try to read these rap lyrics, I feel like it's impossible to not do it in the way that Addison Rae was doing it for
I Need a Bad Sleep, Addison Rae.
I can dig rapping, but a rapper with a ghostwriter? What the fuck happened? Now Drake responded to this one when he had a feature on the Game song 100, but honestly, it's shit like this where I'm surprised that he didn't get truly whacked earlier. Because why would this be your comeback? I would have all of your fans if I didn't go pop and I stayed on some conscious shit. Like, why are you dragging yourself? He's like, yeah man, if I didn't sell out and make music I apparently myself think is stupid, I'd be smart and have your fans too. Most of Drake's current music though has the exact same vibe as this verse, where it's like him talking about how great he is and he's the best and he's alone at the top and he can't trust anybody. A few months after that song dropped though, Dr. Dre's album Compton came out, which has two different songs with Kendrick on it that both have rumored jabs about Drake. At this point though, it's just kind of like jabbing at each other through songs, like nothing too serious. Where shit really hit the fan though was when Drake and J. Cole put out their song First Person Shooter. And it was all because of J. Cole's verse where he goes, love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it K-Dot as in Kendrick? Is it Aubrey as in Drake? Or me? We the big three like we started a league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali. So Kendrick in response hops on a song off a feature in Metro Boomin's collab album We Don't Trust You. What is the best way to describe Kendrick's response? Remember when the Yellow Jackets finally decided they were gonna eat Jackie? Fuck Sneak Diss and First Person Shooter. I hope they came with 3 switches. Motherfuck the big 3, it's just Big Me. For all your dogs getting buried, that's a K on all these 9s. You gonna see Pet Cemetery. And if you're sitting there thinking who brought Fido into it, the Drake album that First Person Shooter is from is called For All the Dogs. This went so viral that Drake had to bring it up on tour like that shit was a press conference.
A lot of people ask me how I'm feeling. I'm gonna let you know how I'm feeling. Listen.
Which I'm sorry, I know this is the last thing I should be paying attention to while he's addressing the nation over being dragged, but what the fuck is he wearing? He looks like the 200th member of NCT.
I'm about to raise the roof.
And at this point, things are getting pretty big and direct, so everybody was waiting for Drake's response in a diss track. But before Drake could even drop his, Rick Ross responded to the one that hadn't dropped yet because Drake's had leaked early. And I understand that Rick Ross has a lot of great songs, I am a fan. But whenever I think of him, I'm immediately reminded of this ridiculous verse he had on a song called Girl Friday, where he rhymes titties with capital cities.
I think we fell in love outside of Wingstop.
Mind you, song and verse are catchy as hell. So now what? Drake then finally puts out his official Kendrick Lamar diss track, but it also goes after more than just him. He goes at Future, Metro Boomin, A$AP Rocky, Rick Ross, hence the response he had, and even The Weeknd. Like girl, why are you beefing with The Weeknd? Remember your roots. specifically these ones. For quick context though, EXO and OVO have been beefing for quite a while. There's even a line in Lost in the Fire by The Weeknd that came out all the way back in 2019 that was rumored to be shading Drake. But let's get to what he said about Kendrick. He's like, listen, you're washed up, you have to give 50% of your earnings to your old label, also, you're short and small. Personally, I think the best jab was the one where he shaded him for being on a Maroon 5 song. But then you think about it for a bit longer and it's like, wait a minute. I don't know if you're the one who should be saying that though. Like, are you not the Maroon 5 of rap? Like, by your own admission? So while everyone's freaking out over that release, Drake then drops another diss track called Tailor Made. This one was instantly controversial though, because he ended up using AI to make it sound like Tupac and Snoop Dogg were on it, and he taunted Kendrick in it, basically being like, you're not gonna respond yet because Taylor just dropped Tortured Poets Department and she's flooding the charts. But that was eventually taken down because Tupac's estate came in and was essentially like, hey, what happened to class and decorum? When Kendrick finally responds 10 days later with Euphoria, he calls him a degenerate scammer who's an imposter that isn't really a part of the rap community. He makes push-ups sound like a nursery rhyme. Drop and give me 20, drop and give me 20, Kendrick. Days later, he releases another diss track called 616 in LA, where he further responds to push-ups and also alleges that there's a snitch on Drake's team. And also he's just flat out like, listen, you must be a terrible person. But the actual details in each line of this song are crazy. Rap fans were moving like Swifties in the 24 hours after this song dropped. They were deciphering line by line, syllable by syllable. Drake then fires back with Family Matters 14 hours later, and on it, Drake claims that Kendrick's fiance cheated on him with one of his close friends. And then The Weeknd gets whacked again, and it's because he featured on a song off We Don't Trust You where he shades Drake on it, with Drake's response being, knew it was smoke when Abel hit us with the serenade, which unfortunately is very funny. Cause seriously, everyone in this beef so far has been like, I'm gonna kill you, watch out. While Abel's in the corner like,
Bring me a little water now. Bring me a little water, Sylvie.
but then he'll say shit like, weekend music getting played in all the spots where boys got a little more pride. Like, I'm sorry, this is also coming from the guy who's saying, sweatpants, hair tied, chillin' with no makeup on. That's when you're the prettiest, Pookie. I hope you don't take it wrong. How else did you build your McMansion, Like, I don't know if we should be shitting in the sandbox we played in. Mere minutes later though, Kendrick drops Meet the Grams, and Kendrick decides to directly address Drake's son, mother, and Drake himself.
You lied about your accent and your past tense, all is perjury. You lied about your ghostwriters. You lied.
Like, this shit is terrifying. He claims in the song that Drake's a deadbeat and that there's another hidden child, this time a daughter. And then less than a day later, Kendrick drops the biggest song that came out of the beef, Not Like Us, which starts off with the line, I see dead people. And the reason I say biggest hit is not just because of the streams. This shit is getting Brazilian funkified to death.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
And turned into whatever the hell's going on here.
I'ma do my stuff.
You know what would hit phenomenally right now? A Bethany Moda morning routine with this in the background? Not Like Us lyrically though is insane. He claims that Drake and his entire team are a bunch of pedophiles and then coins the term OV-ho, which then proceeds to go viral. And when Drake responds with the final song in the beef, The Heart Part 6, where he taunts Kendrick for not fact-checking and claiming that he had people feed him false info, people don't even care, which I kind of get because the way he framed half this shit was insane. Like, this man with his whole chest was like, listen man, I'm always one step ahead. I knew that you thought I was a pedophile. Okay? Like, what? If we're picking winners in this beef though, Kendrick did win. Not Like Us ended up topping the Billboard Hot 100, then to rub salt in the wound, he performed the song 5 times in a row at the Forum. Then dropped the music video for it on the 4th of July. And the worst part of it all is not even Canada has his back on this shit.
Did you know Drake's here tonight? I thought Drake was your homie. And since Drake's here, he's over here on the side, I'm gonna do this one for him. It's dedicated to you.
We genuinely need a country action plan on the global rebrand. I personally nominate Carly Rae Jepsen and Lights. I think they do a great job. Drake really was fighting an uphill battle from the jump with this one though. Because when you have a digital footprint like this, what do you even do? Like, I'm not saying this was of his own creation, a lot of this was made against his will, but it just never really puts out the vibe of like, don't fuck with me, I'm the best in the game. Guys, unfortunately, I do want to talk about JoJo Siwa. Stop booing me, okay? I know everyone's already talked about it, but what happened in democracy? We are going to be talking about post-karma shenanigans though. But if I'm allowed to say one thing about that song, I do find it oddly restorative. Like, in the same way that I do the Double Trouble Tiesto remix from the Eurovision movie soundtrack. And before you say anything, hold that thought, get off your high horse. There are some songs that are so ridiculous yet upbeat that when you are truly mentally down bad, they bring nothing but a smile and a little bit of joy to your day, and you hold those songs close. I'm not saying I turn on Karma on my own, I do that with the Brit Smith version, but if I'm having a bad day and I just so happen to stumble across a video of her performing it or a clip of the song, it makes my day a bit brighter, okay? Sue me. But since Karma, she's actually dropped an EP along with another single that are both called Guilty Pleasure. I'd actually argue that Karma is better, but she did give us more dancing videos for it, which I do appreciate. Though I am concerned that JoJo Siwa might be the first person to develop CTE from TikTok dancing. Or maybe shin splints. She also recently did a TikTok where she talked about topping the charts for the most disliked music video of 2024.
So a list just got released of the most disliked music video.
There is a baby parallel here, but I don't know if it's fair to compare the two. Like, that song is really, really good. And people only hated him because he had good hair. With the music video for Guilty Pleasure though, she continues to curb stomp her old kid-friendly persona, especially with this scene where she's essentially saying no to the bow. Which, guys, this is genuinely so serious. I'm not even being sarcastic here. I have a second cousin who did not fuck around about those bows 4 years ago. You take that thing away from her, she starts chopping at the bit. The bit in question being my arm. That's some very work from home and can't be tame vibes for sure. Which makes sense because she did cite Miley as a general influence for the EP. There's a certain Arc Music Factory sake while this EP just cannot shake off production-wise. One could argue that this entire situation does in general just feel like if Arc Music Factory was still scamming children. I do think that a lot of their catalog outdoes this EP though. Somehow. Which is an achievement in itself. Me neither, girl. I do appreciate the song Yesterday's Tomorrow Today though, which seems to be answering the question, what would it sound like if Mr. Saxo Beat was sad? Also, hear me out, Choose Your Fighter would have been a great 5-Saw song in 2018. Like, you can't listen to that and tell me that isn't Talk Fast adjacent. As much as I know everybody hates JoJo Siwa's music career, there's always a silver lining. Like, without her doing this, we would have never gotten Brit Smith's version of Karma. I love that version. And its corny ass video. Like Timbaland Priest? Why the fuck not? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video though. If you did, feel free to give it a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. All my social links will be in the pinned comment down below. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one, and thanks for watching.